Hey everyone, Norma with Orange Lingerie here, and thanks for joining me for today's tutorial on how to get perfect 1/4 inch seam allowances. Now, why is it so important that we have those perfect seam allowances? Well, when we're sewing bras and lingerie, we're often dealing with very small seam allowances and very small pattern pieces. Maintaining a precise seam allowance is very important in order to sew up the correct size. You know, if you take an extra 1/16 inch of an in on each seam, you do that twice, you've decreased your size by 1/8 of an inch, and you do that 4 times, now you've decreased the size of your pattern by 1/4 inch, which can be a lot. So let's be sure that we're sewing with precisely 1/4 inch seam allowances. And let me show you how I like to get this set up. When I'm sewing, I want to be sure that my fabric is completely sandwiched between the feed dogs and the presser foot. This is so I get the best stitching and handling from my sewing machine. Now, if I were to sit down and just start sewing using the edge of the presser foot as my 1/4 inch seam allowance marking, you would see I would be sewing at actually more than 1/4 inch, about a 1/16 of an inch more, and I definitely don't want that. 1/16 of an inch here and there, it all starts to add up and will decrease the size that I'm sewing. So, to get a 1/4 inch seam line, I align the edge of the presser foot with the 1/4 inch seam marking or 1/4 inch marking on my ruler. And what I want to do now is I want to move the needle over to my right until it aligns with an inch marking. And there we go. I'm just going to put the needle down, and you can see there it does align with now a solid inch marking. So now when I sew, I'll be sewing at a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Now let's test that seam allowance that I set, just to be absolutely sure. I'm aligning the fabric edge with that horizontal red line on the presser foot. That is where the needle enters the fabric, and that is where my seam allowance is. Now let's just measure that with a ruler to be absolutely sure that that's a 1/4 inch, and yes, we've got it. And so there you have it. That is my favorite way to dial in those perfect 1/4 inch seam allowances so I can be sure that I am sewing precisely and accurately and I am getting the size that I want. I hope you've enjoyed today's tutorial. If you did, please give us a thumbs up. And if you want to be sure not to miss a single one of our tutorials, be sure to subscribe to our channel. Thank you. Till next time.